Hi, everybody. I'm glad to introduce Cristina Baldi, who's going to discuss blockchain technology. Go ahead, Cristina.
Thank you, Zoe, for passing me the floor. I feel blessed and honored to be here. Buongiorno and good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming, and let me say a special thanks to Zoe and Loredana for inviting me here to enjoy your amazing foundation. Before starting my presentation, I would like to spend a few words to introduce myself. My name is Cristina Baldi, I'm Italian, and I'm now talking from Florence, Italy, the city where I live with my family. In my life, I have several passions. For sure, one of them is a particular care to me. It is the women empowerment. I have a financial and economic degree, and have spent a lot of experience inside multinational corporations here in Italy around the finance area. Over time, my focus has been moved to the application of the technology inside the business. That's why I specialized in blockchain technology and founded the Blockchain Era, a new startup of professionals that support small and medium-sized company to analyze the business in order to climb to a higher competitiveness level by the application of the technology. The purpose of my presence here today is providing with the length through the meaning and importance of blockchain inside and outside our life and in the business. I made my agenda set of 3 main points, followed by an open section of questions and answers. I wish to start to introduce the blockchain and understand with you why it is considered the new trustless paradigm. Then we will see how the blockchain is the key to reach a new peak performance inside the business, and why blockchain impact is so strategic in the different business areas. Before ending my presentation, I wish to share with you a little case study, the study of Pralina, a food startup, Italian food startup. So we are ready, and we can start to introduce the new technology. What's blockchain and what's new about blockchain? We know that blockchain was born around 10 years ago, aside of Bitcoin. Today, we don't have enough time to analyze the connection between blockchain and Bitcoin. However, we can say in an easy way that blockchain is the code that support the transaction of Bitcoin. And to introduce the technology, I want to start from our common experience in digital financial transaction. When we want to move an amount from our bank account to another bank account, we need to refer to a third party. We need to ask the bank to make the transaction. In other words, we need to trust the bank to make the transaction. This is a centralized system, as you can see here. Thanks to the blockchain, we have the possibility to move an amount of value from one part to another part without any third party, without referring to a third party, without the need of trust, no party. So that's why blockchain is defined as the new internet of value. With the blockchain, we moved from a centralized system to a distributed and decentralized system. However, the blockchain is not used for financial transaction only, but we use blockchain, we can use blockchain in many other field of our life. We can use a blockchain to register our health data. We can use a blockchain to vote. We can use a blockchain to notarize any transaction we can have in our life. So that's why we have the possibility to say that the blockchain introduce a new paradigm of trustless, because we don't need a third party, we don't need to trust anyone. All of us inside the blockchain systems, we can check directly on the system the transaction and the interiorly flow of transaction. Properties of this technology is the value of the technology. We have just seen a couple of properties. We have seen disintermediation and decentralization. We have to introduce the other properties of this technology. We are talking about programmability, traceability, verifiability, and immutability. When we talk about, when we talk about programmability, we refer to the possibility to make one transaction automatically if some condition, some defined condition has happened. In other way, to give you one example, very simple example. When you decide to take a coffee from the coffee machine, what do? You insert your key, the machine checks if inside the key there are some value, and if so, you can select the coffee and the machine can provide you with the coffee. So this is a simple example of a smart contract. Of course, the coffee machine is not running by the blockchain right now, of course, but the rule and the meaning of the smart contract is exactly the same. About traceability, verifiability, and immutability is quite simple to understand the importance of these properties. Why? Because they give the possibility to anyone inside the system to have information and to trace, to understand the transaction from the beginning to the end. It means that we can understand how any transaction was evolved. And probably one of the most important property is the immutability, because transactions inside the blockchain cannot be modified. What I want to say. So you can say, but if I realize there is a mistake inside the transaction, what do I have to do? you cannot modify the transaction anyway. You can put inside the correct value by adding a new transaction that modify the previous one. It means that if someone want to understand, want to know the life of the transaction, is able to understand and to know any steps of the life of the transaction. The blockchain properties are the base of the value, and if we want to analyze the importance of the blockchain inside the business, we have to start from here, because from the blockchain properties, we have the possibility to climb to a better stage of data quality, and from a better stage of data quality, we can climb to a new governance, and from a new governance, we can reach a new peak of performance. In fact, if we want to understand better what we can have as a result of involving blockchain inside the business, from data quality point of view, we can think about cybersecurity, data analysis, and Internet of Things devices. Blockchain is an anti-tampering structure. Blockchain is zero access to information. Blockchain is a decentralized structure. So it enables to define a better, a stronger policy of cybersecurity. And the same we can say about data analysis, because if I have the possibility to trace, I have the possibility to verify, as a result, I will have a data warehouse clean, a data warehouse that very trustable. And this is very important to take and to make new decisions and new strategies inside the business. And regarding Internet of Things devices, thanks to blockchain, we can trace and we can trace the connection between the different Internet of Things devices. So I can monitor the connection between them, and I can have an efficient process of the connection. Of course, when I have the possibility to make a new decision and good quality of data quality, there is the possibility to have a better governance, and a better governance is of course related to the different areas of the business. Oh, sorry. Oh, my computer doesn't. Okay, sorry. Okay, so we can go in depth with a few words more to analyze how blockchain impacts in the different area of the business. And we can start from the brand digitalization. We know that over time, the marketing approach has been changed. We moved from a focus on the product to a focus on the customer experience, because people, customers, looks for knowing history, people, places, that are behind the product. So it's a new importance of storytelling. We can talk, when we talk about brand, we are talking about digital brand. And I can give you a nice example about that. Coca-Cola Group decided to involve blockchain in the business. Why and in which field? They want to involve blockchain in the production of Fanta because they wanted to trace the quality of the oranges they use to produce Fanta. They use a part of the oranges used to make Fanta are Italian oranges. So it is very important for them to show to the world, to the customer, the quality of the Fanta that they put inside the Fanta. So it's very important, this point of view. Blockchain is perfect in this. It makes customer a loyal clients. Regarding intellectual property, blockchain offers the possibility to protect any kind of trademark, but not only, because thanks to blockchain, we can give to intellectual property a strategic value. Why? Because if we have the blockchain involved inside the business, it's like to have the possibility, it's like to have a proof of the business value. If I want, for instance, to create a new partnership, new connection with other business, I have the possibility to show the value of my business because of traceability. Processes and procedure, it's quite easy to understand. If the company decided, to involve a blockchain inside the business, it brings the processes are optimized, and so logistics, warehouse management are of course better. And we have the possibility to define procedures in an easy way in order to be compliant to any sector law you might have. This means to run away to more and more sustainability. Last but not least, the financial leverage that blockchain brings inside the business. There are many reasons why blockchain is considered as a leverage, a financial leverage. Of course, we can reduce the cost, because if we optimize processes, if we have some added value inside our business, of course, the costs are reduced, and we have the possibility to grow in profit. But these are not the only reasons why blockchain represent a financial leverage. You may have heard about fintech. Fintech are the new instruments becoming supported by blockchain, and we can introduce inside the business a new instrument to support the company and to support any company that is inside the supply chain. So we create a supply chain finance. So this is really very important. They collect all the energies, they put together all the energy, and thanks to the new instrument, they can obtain advantages very important. As I said before ending my presentation, I wish to share with you one little case study, the study of Pralina. Pralina is a small startup. They were born a couple years ago, run by a little young team from the south of Italy. Pralina produce some vegetable cream to make bruschette and some vegetable soup. They were very visionaries. The people were very visionaries because they decided to involve blockchain immediately. Why? Because they understood immediately, they have understood immediately the value of this technology, and they trust this technology, and they thought it was very important to give customer the possibility to know the production flow entirely, from the soil to the table, and the result has been a success, a very big success. In 2 years, they grow very fast. They are now in the international market, and they increased total sale, and they are going to create a good partnership in the market. So what we can say is that if the blockchain technology brings a very big impact on big company, for sure it is the real boost in the small business. It's the element that makes the difference in the market. So I'm going to finish, but before passing the floor to you for any question you might have, I want to say that the world is your oyster. You are the best, and we have a big opportunity on our hands. So I invited all of you to think about the value of this technology, because it's I trust a lot this technology. I have a passion, but not only, because the value is really very, very important. So take into consideration to have an evaluation if it could be interesting to involve this technology in your business. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for being here. It has been a very big pleasure to stay with you. I will be happy to reply to any question you might have here online, and later, if you want, please feel free to contact me. Here you have my contact details, and I will be happy to get in touch with you. Grazie mille. Have a lovely day.
Wonderful. Now we have Shrutirupa on deep diving into DOM-based XSS.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Shrutirupa, and today's session is on deep diving into DOM-based XSS. I hope my screen is visible. So who am I? A little bit about myself. I work under WAF research at Qualys, and I'm also InfoSec Girls chapter lead for Pune, India. I'm having more than 2.5 years of experience, and I have been a trainer and a speaker at various conferences, such as B-Side Singapore, OWASP, C-Sides, etc. So coming to this topic, why have I chosen this topic? because I have mentioned all the points over here, because DOM has always been confusing. Like, we do understand what reflected XSS does, what stored XSS does. We can visualize at least. But with DOM, we are not sure. We don't even understand if it is DOM-based XSS. We can't even see what is happening over there. And I'll show you why. Apart from that, the definitions are okay, but if you are about to write those definitions in your examinations, then it is completely fine. But in real life, to actually deal with DOM-based XSS, those definitions are not enough unless you're too good in English. So here we will try to understand the concept in very simpler way. Here I'm not going to talk about the actual definition that has been presented in different in Wikipedias or the other websites. Here we will try to understand what is it, how can you visualize it, and how can you exploit if you find DOM-based XSS. Of course, you will also understand how to find DOM-based XSS. So what is DOM? So here I have broken it down. DOM is document object model. So what is a document? You can visualize a web page in your browser. It is completely related to your browser. Your browser understands only this, nothing other than that. And this document is a kind of object. So there are different objects over there. Document is one of them. So every web page residing inside a browser window can be considered as an object. So we are talking about the document object, and how are we talking about it? In a hierarchical way. So that is how, summing it all up, document object model. So if you try to understand, it is just the screen that is being shown to you in the browser, nothing other than that. If you have done JavaScript, you have written any code, if you have seen JavaScript, you must have seen that they have used different like document.domain, document.cookie. They have used all these things. What are they actually talking about? At that point of time, they're talking about the web page. So the way a document content is accessed and modified by the browser is called the document object model. So it is nothing, it is a very simpler way. And this is how the browser is looking at it, and that is how we are supposed to look at it, especially when we are dealing with DOM-based XSS. So in short, DOM is a way JavaScript sees its pages data. How does it see? As I told you over here, it's in a hierarchical model, in a hierarchical way. If you search for DOM in Google, they will always tell you about a tree. And that tree is what we are talking about. That is how JavaScript is seeing the page's data. So it is a data representation of the objects that comprise the structure and content of the document on the web. So those contents of the document, which we can see through the browser, if there is any malicious activity that is happening, or if we are able to give some kind of malicious thingy into that document, and if it is playing with the JavaScript, or if you're able to give some kind of malicious script over there, then we are talking about DOM-based XSS. I'm specifically talking only about XSS and not any other kind of attacks right now. It is completely client side. So this is the hierarchy, the tree that we are talking about. You must have seen it a lot of times. You must have seen it every time. If you're doing source code, if you are thinking of writing a small JavaScript code, you would see all these things. These are nothing, but this is how document object model is being defined. And this is how you can, visualize it. I'll show you how you can actually visualize it while dealing with it. But right now, this is how it looks like. You're providing a structure to your language. As I said here, that this is how JavaScript is seeing its pages data. How is it seen? It is seen in this way. There's a root element, it has a body element, it has attributes. This is nothing. We all have talked about it. We all have studied about this. But when it When the time comes to understanding what is DOM-based XSS, we get confused. Again, we will directly move to demo portion. So I'm just quickly going through all the basic definitions. So we will be using a debugger. Why? What is a debugger? It is used to examine the state of the program while it is running. So if your program is in, it is running, in that state, you would be able to visualize what is happening. So why do we require it right now? Because when you are inserting your payload, you need to see what is happening at the DOM's end. What is happening? Is your payload even getting executed? Is your payload doing anything over there? What is happening over there? Because if you want to perform a successful DOM-based XSS attack, you need to understand, you need to actually form the payload properly. You need to understand what is happening over there. So how do? We are using developers tool through Chrome. I'll show you everything in the demo. Wait, but why? Again, why are we talking about debugger? No, why we are talking about DOM-based XSS? Because it does not get reflected. We can't find it in the source code. I'll show you what is happening. It helps you to visualize what is happening at the DOM level. You need to use debugger to understand what is happening, because many times you can blindly keep putting the payloads, but you don't understand what is happening over there. So it is very important. So how do you do it? This is just a theory. We will see it in all practical. So you are setting a breakpoint. So you have your page, which is where there is an input, where you are putting your payload. And while it is being running, you set a breakpoint, and then you see how is the payload getting executed. What is happening at the backend? Backend in the sense, what is happening at the DOM. So you run the application with the payload, and then you analyze it in the debugger. By clicking on each step, you see in each individual step what is actually happening. So let's go to the demo. I'll be sharing the screen. Let me know if it is visible. Is the screen visible? Can someone let me know?
Yes.
Cool. Does
Wonderful.
anyone have any question? Am I going too fast? Do you have anything to ask before we move to the demo? Okay, no problem. So I'll move directly to the demo. We will look into 3 different levels. This is no rocket science. Right now, we are just trying to understand how does it look like? What happens? So most of the time, if you have dealt with reflected XSS or stored XSS, you must have seen everything getting reflected, especially in the source code. So in the source code, what happens is it gets reflected. You can see it over here, right? You're seeing that it is getting reflected in the browser. But to actually form the payload, you need to see what is happening in the source code, because it is a client-side based attack. So we just do page source, and let's find, though it's a very small code, but there is only this Shrutirupa, nothing else. There is no Shruti. It is not getting reflected anywhere over here. So you cannot see the reflection in the source code. Then how are you going to form the payload? Because unless you understand what is happening over there in the source code, how are you going to form the payload? You just cannot just blindly keep putting all the payloads. That would be too stupid, and script kiddies do that. We are not script kiddies. We are trying to understand what is happening, right? So for that, let's see if I put Shruti over here, what is happening in the debugger. So I'm using Chrome. So let's inspect. We move to the sources. So here is the code. So how do you set the breakpoint over here? You just click. If you want to set this line number 9 as a breakpoint, you just click on it. If you want to put 10, you can put multiple breakpoints. But we have a very small source code and we need to understand. We know that this is DOM-based XSS. So it is quite obvious for us to understand that this is the input field. This is from where our input is getting. So there is two basic important concept of in DOM, which is source and sink, which I forgot to mention in the slide. So I'll just write it down so that it becomes easy for you to see the two basic concepts. One is source and the other one is sink. Source is something where you put the input. Sink is something from where actually you get the output. So the basic thing of the important thing, if you need to understand if an application is vulnerable to DOM-based XSS, then your payload gets executed in the sink. So in this demo, we are trying to understand what is the source, what is the sink. It is obvious because we don't have very big, huge source code, but it is quite better to understand. So as you can see that document.getElement by ID, this my text.value, it looks like the source because this is where the input is going. How? You can see that the input type, there you have text ID equal to my text. This is where the value is going. So from here you can see that this is the input field, that is, it is the source. So if I put Shruti over here, and since this is the source, so we put breakpoint at the source. And now we click here to see what is happening next. So we have clicked, it is paused in debugger. This is the next step that we are going to click on. Now you can see Shruti is here. So this is the source. You can see the word over here, Shruti. You remember when we were doing, we were looking for this word in the source code, we could not find it. So unless you see what is happening with your payload, I'm talking about the client side, you cannot actually understand what to do with it. So here you can see that Shruti is here. Let's see, is it going to the sink? Of course, it is going to the sink. So what we talked about right now, is if your payload is getting executed in the sink, your page is vulnerable to DOM-based XSS. So if my payload gets executed over here, it means that it is vulnerable. So let's see. Let's put a payload and see what is happening. Okay. So yeah. So let's put any payload. A normal payload, image source equal to X. There is no source as X, so it will definitely give an error. So on error, it is supposed to give a pop-up. The basic thing that we do all the time for seeing, for finding XSS, we keep on doing pop-ups. So let's put a debugger, a breakpoint over here. Let's click here. Let's move to the next step. Okay. So here is our payload over here. Again, next. Our payload is going into the sink. Let's see, is it getting executed? Did it? What happened? Did anything happen? Let's remove the payload. It has hanged. Okay, so here we see the pop-up. So this is the this is how it is getting executed. So it is vulnerable to DOM-based XSS. You did not see this payload in your source code. Okay, yeah. You cannot find it anywhere over here, but it is still vulnerable. So this is one way how you find if an application is vulnerable to DOM-based XSS. You can see it getting, you can see that there is some kind of reflection in the browser, but you cannot find it in the source code. But that does not necessarily mean that it is vulnerable to DOM-based XSS. You need to see, because this is document.get element by ID, which is actually telling you that they are using some document-based scripts over there. Here is the source, here is the sink, this inner HTML. Another important thing is that you cannot put script alert script. They do not take. I don't recall the reason right now, but yes, if you would put inner HTML does not take the very standard payload for XSS, script alert script. Otherwise, image SRC and other kind of payloads it can see. I think it doesn't even take the SVG as well. Anyway, let's move to next level. Okay. Okay, this is also a simpler one. We saw that it was vulnerable to DOM-based XSS. We definitely saw that our payloads will get executed. We need to put our payloads properly. So let's put the payload, the same old payload. Let's see what is happening over here. Okay, it is getting reflected, but it looks like there is some kind of obfuscation or something is there. Let's see if we can do something about it. So again, inspect element. We will move to the sources. Here's the source code. And here it is. So here it is. It is replacing this with a space. So there has to be some payload that is actually bypassing this. And I think I am not able to recall one right now. Anyway, let's see. We can actually find out what can we do if there is no angular bracket. So let's just put this one and see. Let's set a breakpoint and let's visualize what is happening. The important thing over here is visualizing it. So you have set the breakpoint. Let's click on the next. Here we can see that our input is in the it's in the source. Let's click on the next option. And here we can see that it has replaced that bracket from there. So, but still it is going to the, wait, sorry. Okay, I think it hanged. Wait a minute. Yeah. So here you can see that it is reaching to the sink, and it is possible. It is just removing this angular bracket. You can actually find a bypass for this, and there is. So if you can find one, you can put the payload over there. Let us see if we can do anything about it. course, that angular bracket will not be there. We will look for what payload that we can use. How can we obfuscate it? How can we bypass this? So this was the payload. Wait a minute. Let's see. Anyone can suggest me what can we do? This is just normal simple XSS. Let's talk and let's see what can be, like you must have done reflected XSS. You must have dealt with reflected and stored XSS. It is kind of similar. The only difference is now you are able to visualize it. Let's see in the chat, which I can't see right now. Okay. Interesting. We can see we have got two different inputs. One is %3c, another, yeah, we have got two similar. Let's try. Wait, for some reason it is hanging a lot. Let's see. Nope. Looks like nothing is happening. Let's inspect again. Sorry. So this would be our breakpoint. This is the source. Let's see what is happening. We already know what is happening. Have I put a wrong payload or something? No, it's not working. Let's see. What else can we do? This is one very interesting source. I have mentioned, I'll share the presentation with you all. So this is an interesting link from where you can actually find a lot of amazing payloads. So here, let's see. Let's look at the payloads. What else can we do? Okay, let's discuss about it later. Let's look at the third one. Let's see what is over there. So again, the same thing that we'll be doing right now. Let's put let's right click, move here. Let's go to the sources. Okay, we'll set the breakpoint over here. And let's click here. Okay, so what are we replacing? We are replacing one bracket, round bracket, and we are replacing img. And ultimately we are left with this. So this is the output that we are getting. Any input on this? What can be done over here? How can we replace? IMG is getting replaced. Any idea what we can do with the IMG thing? Okay. So since this is removing the, since it is it is replacing IMG with nothing, with a space. We can try, putting capital IMG. Let's see if we can put it capital over here. And let's set a breakpoint over here and see what is happening next. It is accepting it or not. Okay, so it is in the source and we know that it goes to the sink, but we need to see, is it getting, working properly or not. So now it moves to the next replace. And let's see. I think there's some, sorry, let me see, there's some issue. Okay, so from here we can see that this capital IMG is actually working. So you can put the capital IMG. So one bypass that I have that we have found, it's a very simple ones. One bypass that we have found is IMG. You can use capital I, small mg, capital small I, capital IMG. It will work. So there is no problem with that. So capital IMG is working. The next thing is we can see that it is replacing this one of the round bracket with nothing. Then what can we do? Let's see for some payloads over here. What can we replace? Why am I doing this? Because it is very important for us to understand and find what the replacement could be. If there is any such kind of, obfuscations or some kind of whitelist characters are over there. So here you can see they have given some, I don't think the encoding will work. It's a very simple ones, but we can try. We can definitely try. Apart from that, let's find what can we do. What can we replace an angle, this with? Here is one payload that we can see. We don't have to use the entire payload, but most of the time what we do is we put, those round braces. It looks like this confirm has used backticks instead of round braces. So let us put this and see if it works or not. Again, we have set the breakpoint over here. Let's click. Move to each step. Of course, it should get accepted because there are no round braces, but the important thing is that is it getting executed? So it is in the source and I think it's done. Let's remove. And yes, it is, we are getting the pop-up. So the payload can be, you can use backticks instead of round braces. And this is how you can use IMG instead of, because they have not replaced, here we have not replaced much. So now let's come back to level 2. Let's understand what is happening over there. Is there any input? Okay, we have got another input which is quite interesting. Let's see if that works. So here Renuka is suggesting if we put 2 braces, 2 angular brackets over here. So let's, you can put Z as well. That was just a typo. Don't think that we have to specifically put X only. Okay. So we have the breakpoint set over here. Let's see what is happening. Is it getting? I guess. Let's remove. And well, it worked. So it actually worked. So it is just removing one of the bracket, sorry, one of the angular bracket, and the rest is getting worked. So these are some ways of obfuscation, but we are not here to understand what obfuscation is. We are here to understand DOM-based XSS. My main intention was here to see how to visualize how you can see how it is working in the DOM-based XSS, how you can see your payload, and as a result, you can actually formulate these payloads. So it was completely like we all worked together and found out what the payload is. The first one was the simplest one, and the rest of them was a bit tricky. They were not that tricky, but it was completely based on how you have worked before. So I guess that's it. Wait, I'll get back to my presentation. I'll stop the share here. So here was the demo. These are the references. There's nothing else. These are the references. Do you have any questions? This is the most important thing. Do you have any questions? Let's discuss.